What's up, Internet? I'm Taylor, and this is my vlog, and today I'm going to be reviewing Bloc Party's 4. So, if I'm being honest, Bloc Party is kind of one of those bands that I tend to forget about. Like, I keep a copy of A Weekend in the City in my mom's car because she doesn't have satellite radio, and that's like that album that when I go home and I put it in, like, it's generally an enjoyable experience, but I forget about it when I'm here at school or when I'm just going about my everyday life. And that's kind of how I am with Bloc Party as a whole anymore. 4 is going to change that. Now, I was really unimpressed with Intimacy, the band's previous album. I thought that it was really lackluster. I thought the songs were too repetitive. I thought the guitars were kind of annoying. And I just thought that the album as a whole just didn't feel right. Like, Silent Alarm is amazing. That's the album that I listen to when I want to listen to Bloc Party. A Weekend in the City is the first Bloc Party album that I got, and it was like back in that phase where I only had like 25 albums in my library, and so that was one of the albums that I listened to non-stop for years. And so I'm kind of burnt out on Weekend in the City. It's kind of a special occasions only thing for me. So then when Intimacy came out, I was really disappointed because I really wanted it to be something awesome, and it just wasn't. Thankfully, 4 is a kick in the teeth. It's fantastic. It's just repetitive enough to be dancey. It's just dancey enough to be cool. It's just rocky enough to be dance punk. It's just a little bit of everything that I love about Bloc Party put together. The opening of this album is one of the hardest, loudest things Bloc Party's ever written. So He Begins to Lie, 3x3, and Octopus are just 3 heavy hitters right in a row, which is something that you don't typically hear early in Bloc Party records, but something that I really, really like this time around. On my first listen, I thought the guitars on this album were overly simple, and I thought because of that they were a little repetitive. I watched a couple of acoustic performances of songs, and I was like, wow, it's like they're not really doing anything. And then I listened to the album again, and I was like, it just feels really quiet. And so I let it sit for a little while, and then I listened to it with a friend who's not familiar with Bloc Party, and he was like, you know, the guitars are really simple, but that's not in any way bad. And so that got me thinking, and I listened to it again, and I realized that the simpleness of the guitar parts in 4 is what makes them so hard-hitting. You listen to Octopus, and those guitars are just so driving, even though there's almost nothing there. And I think that's one of the talents that Bloc Party has always had as a band. I just didn't really notice it until now because there's nothing else behind it. There's no keys, there's no synths, there's no nothing. It's just guitars and drums and vocals. And don't get me wrong, there are some duds on this album. I think The Healing is really weak. I don't really know why it's here. It's even more down-tempo than The Truth, which is the typical Bloc Party love ballad that they have on each album. But The Healing just feels really misplaced, and I don't really know why it's here. Valis is kind of okay. I mean, it feels like more of the same, and I like it when I listen to the album as a whole, but I'm not going to sit down and listen to Valis by itself. It just doesn't feel like that kind of song. However, 3x3, Real Talk, The Truth, and We're Not Good People are my 4 favorite tracks on this album, and probably 4 of my favorite Bloc Party songs ever. These songs I just keep listening to over and over and over. Every time I get angry, I just put on We're Not Good People and just feel so much better because it's just so loud and aggressive and punk and dance and just awesome that it just really, like, drains you once it's over. I've also heard the bonus tracks that come with this, Mean and Leaf Skeleton, and if you're going to pick this album up, I would suggest picking up the version that has those 2 on it, because the album is pretty short, and those 2 songs really cap it off nicely. It feels weird having them after We're Not Good People, because that's such a good closer, but they're such good songs that I can't afford to listen to them without it, and I've got a playlist built so that they're always there just because I enjoy hearing them. 4 is a modern alt-rock record. It is very dancey, it is very punky, and it's very modern in all senses of the word. This is not an album I would pick up on vinyl. I don't think it's got that kind of depth of sound, and I don't think it needs to. I think this is a purely iPod type of album. Don't go into this expecting Silent Alarm either. If you haven't listened to Bloc Party in a while, you definitely need to get on Spotify, get on YouTube or something, and listen to some of the singles from this album. Listen to Team A, listen to Octopus, listen to 3x3. because otherwise you're going to be sorely mistaken because you're going to think the whole thing sounds like Silent Alarm, and it just doesn't. More than anything, I think Bloc Party has really proved that they're still a band who's really relevant to the alt-rock scene, even after a hiatus and some solo work and different things. I think they're really going to come back strong this year. I think they need to plan their tour dates a little bit better so they hit more of America, but I think they're going to eventually, and they're really going to become a big contender this year in alt-rock. So, if you're really up on your trends, or you really just want a solid alt-rock album to rock out to this fall, definitely go pick up 4. Pick it up on iTunes, though. Don't go down and buy it on vinyl, because I don't think that it's got what you're looking for from a record. So those are my thoughts on Bloc Party's 4. I also just did a review of Green Day's Uno, which I'm going to annotate up here in this corner, that way. So if you want to check that out, if you're into Green Day or you want to see what they're up to, check that out as well. I'm going to have some more videos going up throughout the weekend, so feel free to check those out as well. I'll link my next one over here so as not to get confused. But that's about all I've got right now, so until next time.